I've got CEOs in the Chicagoland area. They're willing to focus on the urban communities and hiring from the urban communities. If we have the right team to identify just good kids, good kids in high school that want to get a diploma.
Don't start with high school kids.
And why is that?
Look, here's the problem. And I'm going to tell you from the perspective of somebody who's Black. You never hear when people refer to white community or Asian community about starting with kids. You start with adults. You give adults opportunity to add value. They will take care of the kids in their own communities. It's always this cycle of this charity mindset. And I call these inner city programs the little Black kid programs. Mm-hmm. So you give some money to some little Black kids, and then what happens is when they become adults, there's nothing for them anymore. Go tie opportunity to responsibility. If you get an opportunity, then you need to take on some responsibility for bringing some other people along. When you do that, in my view, young people will start to believe in the free enterprise system, and they will see themselves because they will see other people like them. Imagine you don't see any adults who are successful. Everybody that you see that's successful outside entertainment, mm-hmm. which includes sports, is white. It reinforces your inferiority complex.
So here's what I know, Robert. My inspiration came through high school. I didn't have a lot of. I think I had a little drive as a younger guy, but in high school, I saw people that were successful. I came from a low middle class, or like lower middle class family, or I should say, area, and so there wasn't a ton of success around me. But I saw some, and then I was inspired by a few adults as a high school guy to get out and make make a little more money doing some other things that I did. And then coaches, right? And so I just believe that if in the business world that I'm familiar with, right, where we hire a good amount of people every year, and a lot of my friends do, we're looking for talent, and we can train, we can teach over a 4-year period somebody from a high school diploma to a 22-year-old kid from having no real business experience in the business world, finance and accounting, even if they have very little strength in math, let's say, right? We can teach them sales and marketing. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be great at it. We can teach them work ethic probably first before we teach anything else, and what we do in the field. And then in the end, teach them operational excellence in what we believe in, being number one in the world at what we do is our goal always, and teach them these things. In 4 years, I'm confident that our 4 years of internship can be way better than a 4-year undergrad that I see today. And so that's kind of my thing is if we have opportunities like entry-level job opportunities, why not inspire kids in high school to say, why wouldn't you want to work for the Ray-Bans, the Medlines, these companies in the Chicagoland area that have these core values that you must live by to work for them, and then have our teams in there, myself and our CEOs as well as our leaders in there talking about how much fun it is to be amongst our culture and living by our core values. So I just think that there's some opportunity there.
Listen, I think what you're saying is noble. So don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I think it's noble, and it'll be impactful for a few kids. It will be impactful for a few kids. Mm-hmm. However, there's a difference between resources and aspiration. Aspiration is more important than resources. So you can help, let's say that you help 100 kids. Mm-hmm. Now, there are groups that go into the Chicago public school system, Year Up and others,
yes,
which will go into the Chicago public school system. And what they do is they have very well-meaning people. And they'll have a group of 10 or 15, usually people that have graduated from college and will go in and be helpful, things like that. And maybe they can touch 10, 20, 100, 200 kids. There are 500,000 kids in the Chicago public school system. 85% of them fall below the poverty line. So if you can go and you've got 500,000, and it's not like it stops, right? Every year, 125,000 of those
Or added, yeah,
go.
or come in again, yeah.
So what you're doing is, if you go help 100, that's noble,
Mm-hmm.
not transformational. Transformation happens. Do you realize that since in the last 25 years, India and China have taken 750 million people out of poverty?
Free enterprise. I mean, capitalism.
Exactly. So what happened is they empowered their entrepreneurs. Their entrepreneurs did two things. They created industry, which creates employment, but more importantly, they created aspiration for millions of people.
Yep.
Reason why blacks believe in entertainment, sports, all that, is because there's market evidence that it works. So while it's nice and noble that whites or anybody else helps young blacks, the few that they can actually help themselves, what's more important is that you create a movement that proves that the free enterprise system works, and you get everybody to do a little bit.
So we're going to talk more about this offline because we're running out of time. But I'll tell you right now, buddy, this will create more traction towards this exact subject. So you got to start with the 20 CEOs I'm talking about, and hopefully it becomes 200, 300, 400, 500, instead of hiring a few hundred people a year from the system, and not just hiring, actually training to be entrepreneurs themselves, right? And having four years of education that you don't pay anything for, you get paid for, of course, and you have zero debt at the end of 4 years, and a culture you understand to be able to go on to be an entrepreneur or in the organization.
One question before you go.
It could be thousands in the long run.
One question before you go.
Yeah.
Okay, since you're my friend, I can ask you.
Absolutely, always.
If you were to take the revenues of all the companies that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
these 200, estimate what that would be.
The first 20 companies I'm talking about will be around a 20 billion in revenues for the first 20 companies.
Okay. So $20 billion. So you got CEOs that are running companies, $20 billion. Now imagine this. What if everybody just did business? They did business and tied opportunity to responsibility. This is what, listen, the economy depends on supply and demand.
Absolutely.
Where if you fix the demand problem, you will fix the supply problem, and the supply problem gets fixed by people's aspirations. In my view, you'd be more impactful if you just did business in a meaningful way. What if you guys said, between us,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go have $50 million of real significant relationships, real business with black companies. In exchange for that, we're going to hold them accountable to doing this other stuff. That to me is more impactful because people then will compete for that opportunity. And when they're competing for the opportunity, they have to prepare themselves for those opportunities.
Sure. So here's my thing. Most of these companies do try to do that, some in some aspects, some not very well, some well, right? Of this group I'm telling you about, and the next 180 that I would be talking about next. But I believe there's a huge hole right now in finding great people, right? And mentoring and training great people.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, we need to do this, and we should have a meeting with your CEOs, because I'm going to tell you, if we don't prove the free enterprise system works,
it's going to be gone.
We're going to lose it.
Bernie is going to dominate it, and I don't think it's just Bernie. It's a lot of people from other parts of politics here that don't claim to be socialists that actually act like them, and I see a lot of that going on in our own state, in our own backyard, which scares me. Right. So hey, I got to tell you, I want to have you on again sometime because we didn't get enough of you, dude. You're awesome, and your mind thinks in a way that's just so much fun, and it's so rewarding to anybody that's listening to you. But I tell you, yeah.
Whenever you want to talk to somebody crazy, I'm your guy.